Think about the last time you took a pill. Maybe for a headache, maybe an allergy. It's this tiny, perfect little thing, right? But have you ever wondered how it gets to you? It's not just about machines and chemicals. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the most critical ingredient of all, the people. Which brings up a huge question, right? It's one thing to make a life-saving drug once, but how do you guarantee that millions of doses are all perfectly identical, perfectly safe, and perfectly effective every single time? I mean, when you're talking about medicine, the stakes are about as high as they get.
Well, the answer is, surprisingly, human. Before a single chemical gets mixed, before any fancy machine is even turned on, it all begins with an incredibly detailed plan. A step-by-step guide designed entirely for the people who will run the whole show.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the most basic idea, the human foundation. Then we'll check out the organizational blueprint. We'll meet the 3 key leaders who hold it all together, dig into the intense training they all go through, and wrap up with the daily hygiene rules they live by. Let's jump in. All right, so where does it all begin? Not with a complicated formula or a piece of machinery, but with a simple core principle. This is what we call the human foundation, and believe me, it supports absolutely everything else. And here it is, straight from the official EU rulebook. The correct manufacture of medicinal products relies upon people. Now, this isn't some feel-good corporate slogan they hang on a wall. It is a fundamental legal and ethical rule. It means no matter how amazing the tech gets, the ultimate responsibility always comes down to people.
Okay, so if people are the foundation, how do you build on top of that? Well, you need a blueprint, a super detailed organizational plan that makes sure everyone and everything works together flawlessly. Because when you're making medicine, there is zero room for error. And that blueprint, it starts right at the very top. Senior management has the ultimate responsibility here. This is something they absolutely cannot delegate. They have to provide all the resources, define every single role with crystal clarity, and constantly check in on the system to prove that it's actually working. Quality isn't just a goal. For them, it's a non-negotiable duty. And this is where you really see the obsession with detail. The regulations are so specific. There has to be an org chart. Every key person must have a written job description. So why all the paperwork? Because in this world, any confusion can be genuinely dangerous. The entire system is engineered to get rid of any gaps or overlaps where a critical safety step could get missed. So we've got our blueprint, but who are the pillars holding this whole structure up day in and day out? Well, it really comes down to 3 key leaders, and each one has a very specific, very critical job. Now, before we even get into who they are, this is probably the single most important rule of the whole system. The person in charge of production, the person making the drug, and the person in charge of quality control, the one checking it, they must be independent. They can't report to each other. It's a brilliant, built-in system of checks and balances, designed so no one ever feels pressured to cut a corner. And this just lays it out perfectly. Think of it as the maker versus the checker. The head of production, our maker, is all about making sure the drug is produced exactly according to the plan. But the head of quality control, the checker, has the totally independent power to say yes or no to raw materials, packaging, even the finished product. You'll notice they both have to train their teams, but their core jobs are kept separate on purpose. And then you've got the third pillar, the final gatekeeper. This is the qualified person, or QP. This is a role required by law, and the weight of responsibility is just immense. This one person personally signs off on every single batch, certifying that it meets every single legal and quality standard. Their name is literally on the line. The job is so important that they have to be available to the company all the time, and their duties can only ever be handed off to another certified QP. Okay, so we have the structure, and we have the leaders, but a blueprint is just paper without the know-how to make it real. So how does this whole system actually come to life? Well, through intense A to Z training that basically activates every single person involved. So, who exactly gets trained on all these strict rules? The scientists? The lab techs? Yep, of course. But it goes way further than that. The short answer is absolutely everyone whose job could possibly affect the final product. That means the maintenance folks, the people working in the warehouse, even the cleaning staff. In this kind of environment, there's no such thing as a small job. And the training follows this really clear step-by-step life cycle. Every new person starts with foundational training on the core principles. Then they get specific training for their exact role. If their job takes them into a high-risk area, like a sterile clean room, they get even more specialized training. And here's the thing, it never stops. Their skills and knowledge are constantly being assessed and refreshed. And get this, the system is so airtight that even a visitor or a contractor can't just wander in. If they absolutely have to go into a production area, they get a briefing on all the rules beforehand and are supervised the entire time they're in there. There are no exceptions, none. So, the team is structured, they're led, and they're always being trained. But how is that incredible standard of quality kept up minute by minute right there on the factory floor? It all comes down to a set of daily hygiene rules that are completely non-negotiable. And these rules are absolute, starting with the really obvious stuff. No food, no drinks, no chewing gum anywhere near production. Why? Because even the tiniest crumb is a totally unacceptable risk for contamination. Same deal with smoking. It's not just that you can't smoke in there. You can't even store any smoking materials in these controlled areas. It's all about eliminating any possible contamination in the air. Personal health is a massive factor too. If someone has an infectious disease or even something as simple as a cut on their hand, they are not allowed in the manufacturing areas. It's all about preventing any kind of biological contamination. And to protect the product from the people, everyone who walks in has to wear specific protective clothing. This creates a solid, non-negotiable barrier between the person and the medicine they're making. And it all comes back to the most fundamental rule of all, constant, thorough hand washing. It's that final, simple step that reinforces this whole culture of absolute cleanliness and control every single day. Which, brings us right back to where we started. All of these steps, the org chart, the leaders, the training, the strict daily rules, they all exist to support this one powerful idea. The entire system is built to empower people to do their jobs perfectly every single time. So yeah, this system is incredibly complex, but its whole purpose is beautifully simple. It's all there to protect you. So the next time you hold a simple pill in your hand, maybe you'll see it a little differently. Not just as a product, but as the final step of a really long journey, made possible by a huge, dedicated team of people.